Hello, children. I hope you are doing well in your studies as well as taking very good care of your health. With this positive note, let me do the next lesson of U.A.E for grade 6, the late Middle Ages in Europe, the first 100 years. So let us unfold the first 100 years of late Middle Ages in Europe. The learning objectives to identify causes of the first 100 years of war and some key figures and events of that time, to discuss the concept of what should be valued and maintained. U.A.E link. U.A.E maintains cordial relations with all the countries of the world. CC link. It links with history. As the topic has the reference of the past, wars between England and France, it has to be linked with history. Now here we have the warm-up exercise, which is from your textbook. What causes wars? So these are the important points which leads to the causes of the war. Now what exactly was this 100 years of war? It's a pretty long period of time, children. We have never come across such kind of thing earlier, but there was 100 years of war which was actually fought in the 12th century, and this century was marked with instability and conflict in Europe, especially with regards to England and France. They did not get well along with each other. There were various reasons for it. So this period from 1159 CE to 1259 CE was known as the first 100 years of war. So it was a war between England and France. Now let us see the background, why they did not get well along with each other. These were the two major kingdoms in England and France. One was the Plantagenet family, and this Plantagenet family ruled most of England. They owned a great deal of land even in France. In fact, nearly half of France was owned by these English kings. That is Henry II, later on by Richard I, and then his successor John. Obviously, when a country is being taken over by other country, most of its parts are under the control of the other country. It is going to lead to rivalry and conflict. The same thing happened over here. The French kings, they belonged to the Capet family, which ruled France, as most of the land was owned by England and not by the French kings from the Capet family. This led to a conflict between the two countries. Now, the Capet family had French kings, that is Louis VII, later on Philip Augustus, and these were the kings who wanted to have control over their land. They wanted to win back all that land of France, which was now belonging to England. Hence, they began fighting the war with the English kings. So, there was a war, children, between Henry II and King Philip. Henry II of England, the King of England, and he became the King of England in 1154. He decided that he should still keep on expanding England's territory in France. Now, with such ambition, when he went on, he started winning several major battles. During that time, when King Philip he became the King of France in 1180, he fought back against Henry. And what he did was that he persuaded he convinced Henry's son Richard to help him against his father. Richard was called as Lionheart. Why? Because of his reputation that he was a great warrior as well as a great leader. When Henry II dies in 1189, Richard became the new king of England. Now, the politics of King Philip of France went on. So, although Richard was close to King Philip, but he kept attacking the English lands in France. He did not go to England and fight wars over there, but on his own land, that is in France itself, he kept on fighting against the English king so that he can win back the land which was actually belonging to France, for which he convinced John, that is the brother of Richard, to rebel against him. He did the same thing with Richard to rebel against his own father, and now he did the same thing with Richard's brother so that John can rebel against Richard and help King Philip to win back all that land which belongs to France. King Philip was successful in his strategies, in his policies, and was able to regain most of the lost territories. John became the king of England in 1199 after the death of his brother Richard. So Richard succumbed to his wounds in the battle, and John becomes the king in 1199. For the next 50 years, there was the conflict which went on between France and England. And the result was with France winning battle after battle. Now, here we come to this Magna Carta of King John. So, when King John becomes the King of England, he had the rich landowners known as barons, and they wanted him to sign this Magna Carta. So, it was a document which was signed by this King John of England at Runnymede near Windsor on 15th June 1215. Now, it was first drafted by Archbishop of Canterbury, Stephen Langston, to make peace between the unpopular king and the barons who had rebelled against him. Why? Because he was a very autocratic ruler. He was said to be one of the worst rulers which England had seen during that time. So, in the history of Britain, he was said to be one of the worst rulers, and so it was that the barons wanted protection from illegal imprisonment, which he used to do. He had taxed the barons heavily so that he can fulfill his ambition of getting more and more land under his control in foreign wars. So for that he needed money, so he heavily taxed the barons. This Magna Carta gave them protection from this illegal imprisonment, from those exorbitant taxes which was levied on them, and obviously that made them very strong. So there were a council of 25 barons who had seen to it that the king, John, signs this Magna Carta. Now you can see over here that the Magna Carta is being signed and is surrounded by barons. We have an image in the textbook also which shows that he was forcibly unwilling to sign the Magna Carta, but he did so under the pressure of so many barons. Now, this first 100-year war lasted until 1259, which started in 1159 C. Exactly 100 years later, it was ended by the Treaty of Paris on 4th December 1259 C. This treaty was signed between King John's son Henry III and the King of France, that is Louis IX. By signing this treaty, Henry III agreed to give up most of the lands of France and then officially ended this first 100 years of war. So, by this, you can understand that it was because the territories of France were taken over by the English rulers, it led to this 100 years of war. If this was not the case, then 100 years of war would have not been fought between England and France. Now, here we come to activity, children, which is your textual activity. You can see the questions and also the answers. Please cross check the answers. Activity 2, you have the images of the rulers and what were the things which they did during their life. All that has been mentioned. Please go through. Activity 2 is still continued, children, on this slide also. Please go through this slide. You can see over here King John and King Henry III. You can go through their accomplishments. Now, activity 3 has a question over here. What were some of the causes for the first 100 years of war? You can go through, children. What happened during first 100 years of war? So this is the answer. You can go through. Activity 5, again from your textbook. You can look at the image in your textbook if this is not clear to you, and you can go through the answers, children. It's a very simple question answers. Please go through the questions in your textbook and see the answers over here. Then activity 6, you can go through this and see for yourself what were the benefits of the different events to King John or to the landowners. I have put a tick accordingly. You just need to write one line of explanation. Over here is activity 7. So they have asked us a question. Please refer to your textbook for the question and please go through this answer. To the end of my lesson. I hope it was useful for you. I hope you will be able to understand all the concepts well after going through my video. So children, again a humble request. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please do subscribe to my channel. Press the bell button so that you get the latest updates of my videos. And give me a thumbs up if you really liked it. So children, thank you so much. Be happy, be safe, stay calm, and see you next time with my some new videos. Till then, have a nice day.